I'm going to share. I'm going to share an excerpt, and an expert from one of the books I read early on, and as far as training to build muscle and strength goes, great book. Beyond Brawn by Stuart McRobert, and this excerpt is at the beginning of the book, and I'm going to read it first. So, stop following instruction that you know is not working. You do not need to be an expert to know if something is helping you. More of what did not help you over the last few months is not going to help you over the next few months. Stop imitating the training of people who have genetic talent you do not. Chances are, and this is me adding this, chances are we don't have the genetic talent of those people. Otherwise, we would just be jacked already. Back to the excerpt. And stop thinking that anything other than the basic combination of training, food, and adequate rest is going to make much, if any, difference to the results you get from your efforts in the gym. That part right there, and this is something that I like, I'm speaking from personal experience. I've been doing this for 20 years, 15 years with, some level of success. But things didn't change until I got this realization. Stop thinking that anything other than the basic combination of training, food, and adequate rest is going to make much, if any, difference to the results you get from your efforts in the gym. So I'm going to actually be sharing more of, I have some, the way that I originally learned strength and conditioning is from a handful of people. Stuart McRobert's book, Beyond Brawn, a bunch of stuff from Dan John. Dan John is one of the legends in strength and conditioning. A whole bunch of Pavel stuff, who popularized kettlebells, and I'm forget Louis Simmons. I know there's a bunch of people I'm forgetting, and I'll make a more comprehensive list of, I got to go back, and the reason I'm actually doing this is for myself, to go back. When you go back and you have a more mature understanding and a more mature approach, you get more from this work. I mean, this book here is like, this is a thick book. This is like 500, almost 600 pages. And, I want to go in and, come back to training with a new approach, with a new understanding, with a deeper understanding. Not a new understanding, a deeper understanding. There's this quote, which I will look for, but, a man never steps into the same river twice, or something along those lines, because each time he's a different man, right? And this quote I remember referencing. It was in reference to when you read a book, or when you come across a piece of information. When you come across that piece of information for a second time, a third time, a fifth time, you learn new information from the same content. And people like Stuart McRobert have spent their entire lives delving into a topic and mastering it. And if something is important to us, we have so much to gain from these pages. And you know, there's a lot of people out there who I admire their work and their dedication to mastery. Tim Grimes does a great job of doing this with metaphysics. And he goes back and he looks at these texts and pulls the deep wisdoms that are in these simple words. And so when it comes to the body, and you know, I've done some pretty, you know, these texts are what have helped me go from, like, I'm an Indian guy, 5'11", 150 pounds. Nobody who knew me would ever have said, oh yeah, you're gonna be a physical specimen of any kind. That I was ever gonna be strong, that I was ever gonna be ripped and lean and athletic. I created this body and this ability through the work of men and women like Stuart McRobert, like Dan John, like Pavel. And I continue to learn, right? But there's so much to be gleaned and like gained from this, and that's why I'm gonna start doing this a little bit more. Like, and I just pulled this off the shelf. This is a little bit more recent, but Tim Anderson has been putting out high quality information for a very long time, along with his original book, Original Strength, which was written with one of my own coaches who has also taught me a lot, affectionately known as Huggy. And you know, I was just going back through this book, and it's just like full of really, really important and helpful information. And so, you know, I'll be sharing that stuff with you, because these are the things that have allowed me to take this, I jokingly call it an engineer body, right? Like typical, you know, unathletic, nerdy body, and turn it into, you know, I've deadlifted 500 pounds. I've squatted 350 pounds at a body weight of 150. You know, any given day I can do 20 to 30 chin-ups or pull-ups. You know, I'm 5'10", 5'11", and I've been dunking for a very long time and into my mid-30s. Like, I'm 35, and I'm dunking, and I'm more athletic than I've ever been in my entire life. These things are because of the information that I've learned from these things, so that, and what I want to share is, if I can do that, anybody can do it. It's just a matter of finding out what the truth is. And that's why I wanted to really start this series off with this excerpt, you know, because this is what I believe. And this is what the proof I've seen is: stop thinking that anything other than the basic combination of training, food, and adequate rest is going to do much or make much of an, if any, difference to the results that you get from your efforts in the gym. Which is what I've been sharing for the past 10, 12 years as a coach, is like, people talk about a lot of stuff, but at the end of the day, it comes down to providing the right stimulus in the gym, your training, eating the right amount of food, enough protein, and resting enough so that you recover from that. That's it. So I look forward to this series and sharing this information with you. So we shall dive deeper into the first book that we'll cover, which is Beyond Brawn. If you want to buy it, I'll put a link in the description, so you can follow along.